incredible forest is our heritage, part of the fabric of humanity. And deep in our consciousness, as a sense of history, we acknowledge our interdependence, one upon the other. Looking backward, far down the corridors of the dim past, we know the time when no tree grew and no bird sang. The gaseous mass which separated from the sun owing to a cosmic catastrophe furnished the material out of which our planet was formed. And then the liquid molten mass cooled off sufficiently to allow the condensation of aqueous vapor. Thus, the sea came into being. The sea, from which all life originated. In what manner the sea produced the mysterious and wonderful stuff called protoplasm, we cannot say. In its warm, dimly lit waters, the unknown conditions of temperature and pressure and saltiness must have been the critical ones for the creation of life from non-life. When the cloud cover had sufficiently thinned, the sun for the first time shone through upon the sea. At this point, some of the living things that floated in the sea developed the magic of chlorophyll. Now they were able to take the carbon dioxide of the air and the water of the sea, and out of these elements, in sunlight, build the organic substances they needed for life. So the first true plants came into being. The slow process of plant evolution had already produced the conifers by the time the ice age of the Pleistocene period descended upon the world. Glaciation forced the trees and other flora to retreat south. The present geologic day has witnessed the retreat of the glaciers and the beginning of a new mantle of spectacular forests for British Columbia. As with a friend long departed and half forgotten, we would recognize the original trees, would welcome these first species, these conifers, the predecessors of our fir and pine, these progenitors of our forests who would pass on their characteristics generation after generation. For many a century after the ice plows were melted, nature fed the trees and dressed them every day like a painstaking gardener, trimming, modeling, balancing. White pine and spruce, hemlock and cedar, their myriad needles sparkling and shimmering, covering hills and swamps, rocky headlands and domes, ever aspiring and seeking the sky. Today, and all of our yesterdays, the same sigh of the wind, the same ripple of water, the same magnificence of trees, and some inmost sense of recognition, an association dredged deep from memory, confirms our kinship with the first man who walked the new land. One of the most crucial and certainly one of the most fascinating stages in the development of a tree is the germination or sprouting of the seed. The species of pine, spruce, firs, and cedars bear reproductive structures called cones. The actual seed develops on the surface of the cone scales. When conditions are favorable for germination, the seed begins to absorb water. As it does, it swells and the seed coat is ruptured. Water enters and digestion, respiration, and the assimilation of foods into the living protoplasm begins. The tree has its life in the soil. Spreading wide its roots through the natural decay of the centuries, it draws in moisture and the legacy of the rocks. Nitrogen, phosphorus, copper, zinc, iron, and all the elements that provide nourishment and strength. The needles, green-seeking fingers, receive the light and the still-scented air to transform through photosynthesis the elements into growth. The twig, the branch, the trunk, the roots, in turn, receive their share of the indestructible energy of the sun. And year after year, the rings of life increase as the tree grows taller, broader, stronger. The natural harvest includes erosion, leaving as a skeleton the remains of a once beautiful tree, and fire, a rapid agent of destruction. There is also the enemy that crawls in quiet hordes with sharp, ravaging mouths to burrow away the growth of years, creeping death in the living wood. Blight and disease, too, take their grim toll, infiltrating like saboteurs into the living heart of the tree and striking down with canker and decay. A wide variety of parasitic organisms, some classified as viruses, fungi, or flowering plants, produce tree diseases.